Taj Mahal, the story of Muslim India. The Taj Mahal is one of the world's most magnificent buildings. It is the most prominent landmark of the city of Agra on the Jumna River in northern India. The structure was built by order of Shah Jahan, a 17th century Mughal emperor, to serve as a tomb for his beloved wife. Her name, Mumtaz Mahal, means jewel of the palace. Appropriately, semi-precious stone inlays similar to these adorned her tomb. The Taj Mahal presents a scene of constantly shifting shades and hues. As the sun crosses the sky, the white marble changes from the soft tones of early morning to the blinding brightness at midday, and then to the warm glow of sunset. The eight-sided central structure of the Taj Mahal stands on a raised square platform flanked by 4 minarets. A mosque nestles in the trees just west of the Taj, in the direction of the Muslim holy city of Mecca. A structure identical to the mosque provides symmetry to the east of the main building. Red sandstone contrasts with the white marble on the facade of the mosque and its twin structure. Arabic writings decorate the main entry gate on the north side of the wall that surrounds the buildings. A pool stretches from the entry court to the tomb. Rows of cypress trees, symbols of death, flank the pool. Fruit trees, heralding life, lined a canal that originally intersected the pool. For more than 300 years, the Taj Mahal has stood as a symbol of the rich court life of the Mughals, the Muslim rulers whose power extended into the 20th century. However, the beginnings of Muslim influence on the Indian subcontinent date back more than 1,000 years. During the 5th century, followers of the Prophet Muhammad spread the religion of Islam from their Arabian homeland. By the early 8th century, these Arab Muslims had won control of the lower Indus Valley in what is now Pakistan. Further Muslim penetration of the subcontinent was blocked by the Thar Desert, a bleak region defended by the Hindu Rajputs of western India. During the 8th and 9th centuries, the west-facing Malabar coast along the Arabian Sea attracted Arab Muslims who settled there as traders. The Arabian Sea trade, dominated by Muslims until the 16th century, spread information on Indian advances in agriculture, astronomy, and mathematics westward to Baghdad and eventually to Europe. During the 11th and 12th centuries, Afghans, Turks, and other Central Asian warriors who had been converted to Islam crossed the Himalaya and Hindu Kush mountains and attacked the rich Hindu cities of the northern plains. The Hindus had used much of their wealth to build beautiful temples, which were dedicated to the worship of images of many gods and goddesses of their religion. The Hindu gods and goddesses were considered evil by the monotheistic Muslim warlords, whose religion forbade the use of images to portray Allah. Thus, the Muslim invaders believed they had a divine right and sacred duty to conquer Hindu India. Although outnumbered by the Hindus, the Muslim armies were usually victorious because of their more efficient organization and superior military tactics. Great fortresses were built as numerous independent Muslim kingdoms, called sultanates, were established in India between the 11th and 16th centuries. The most important of the early sultanates developed at Delhi after Muhammad Ghori conquered the area in 1193. Ruins of the Qutub complex marked the site of the Delhi Sultanate's first capital. The capital was built by Muhammad Ghori's former slave and trusted general, Qutubuddin Aibak, who acquired his master's domains in 1206 and became the founder of the famous slave dynasty of Delhi. Columns from an earlier Hindu temple were used to build the Might of Islam Mosque. This mosque is the oldest important Islamic structure in north-central India. Carvings on the Hindu temple columns were once covered with stucco because of the Muslim aversion to the rival religion's symbolism. Calligraphic carvings reflect the Islamic tradition of ornate but non-representational art. Like other Muslim places of worship, the decorations on the Might of Islam Mosque are inscriptions of passages from the Quran. The Qutub Minar is a freestanding tower beside the mosque. The highest stone tower in India, it rises 240 feet and contains 319 steps leading to the top. The Minar is decorated with the 99 names of Allah. It probably served as a minaret from which muezzins call the faithful to prayer. A later ruler ordered the construction of a larger minar at the Qutub, but only the first story was completed. It has crumbled into a low mass of rubble. Much older than the Qutub Mosque and Minar, or even the remains of the Hindu temples, is a cast iron pillar brought here long ago from some distant part of India. According to a Sanskrit inscription, the iron pillar was originally set up in memory of a 4th century Hindu ruler known as King Chandra. The iron is so pure that the pillar has weathered for nearly 1,600 years with almost no rust. According to tradition, a man can predict his lifespan by the distance measured between his fingers while reaching backwards around the column. The Qutub complex also includes examples of the elaborate tombs favored by Muslim rulers. The tomb of Iltutmish, the second sultan of the slave dynasty who ruled in the 13th century, is profusely carved with patterns showing a mixture of Hindu and Muslim themes. During the 300-year period of the Delhi Sultanate's greatest power, the site of the city was changed several times. The great fortress of Tughlaqabad, situated on the southern outskirts of modern Delhi, was built in the early 14th century by the founder of the Tughlaq dynasty. Little but the ramparts survive today, but they reflect the conditions of constant warfare that characterized medieval India. Beyond the main walls, a dome-topped mausoleum was constructed to serve as a burial place for the warrior king who built the fortress. Firozabad, created by later 14th century Sultan Firoz Shah Tughlaq, lies within view of modern New Delhi. In addition to being a prodigious builder of monuments, Firoz Shah was noted for improving administration and making reforms throughout India. Special attention was paid to the construction of canals and wells, including the great stepped well at Firozabad. Firoz Shah's city was further embellished by an ancient pillar of polished stone. It was one of several pillars originally erected by order of the great Buddhist Emperor Asoka, who ruled much of northern India in the 3rd century BC. The inscriptions on the Asokan column are among the oldest written records in India. Their meaning was a mystery to the learned men of 14th century Firozabad, however. Soon after its founder's death in 1388, Firozabad fell into ruin. In 1398, Tamerlane and his Mongol hordes descended on India from Central Asia and devastated the Delhi region. But new monuments were built by later rulers. The Lodis, a dynasty of Afghan descent that ruled the Delhi Sultanate during much of the troubled 15th century, constructed mosques and tombs, which are preserved in a New Delhi park. By the early 1500s, the world was changing and the power of the Delhi Sultanate decreased. After Vasco da Gama's voyage in 1498, forts and trading stations were established by the Portuguese along India's western shores. Roman Catholic missionaries, including St. Francis Xavier, came to preach Christianity in South Indian regions where there long had been a Christian minority. In their desert fortresses of the northwest, restless Hindu Rajput princes hoped to take advantage of the weakening power of the Muslim sultans. In the early 16th century, however, a new group of Muslim conquerors crossed the Himalayan passes. They proceeded to establish the brilliant period of Mughal rule in India. The Mughals, as the Mongol Muslims came to be known in India, were led by a young nobleman named Babur, who traced his descent from the dreaded Mongol warriors Tamerlane and Genghis Khan. In 1526, the monuments of Lodi, Delhi, fell to Babur's armies, and the period of the Mughal rule in India began. Babur's son, Humayun, chose the site for the construction of Delhi's Purana Kila, or Old Fort, in 1533. Unlike his famous father, Humayun was poorly suited for leadership and spent most of his nominal reign as an exile. Thus, most structures inside the walls of the Purana Kila were planned by Shah Shah, an Afghan who ruled from Delhi while Humayun stayed in Persia at the court of the Shah. 6 months after returning to Delhi in 1553, Humayun died when he fell down the steps of this library building in the Purana Kila citadel. Humayun's tomb was designed by a Persian architect who had been brought to India by the ruler's widow on her return from a pilgrimage to Mecca. Art historians consider this magnificent structure of white marble and red sandstone to be an important forerunner of the Taj Mahal. Humayun's son Akbar was the greatest of the Mughals and one of India's most outstanding rulers. Akbar reigned from 1556 to 1605. During this period, he extended the Mughal Empire throughout northern India. Akbar centered his empire at Agra, where he built a massive fort. In 1562, the Hindu Raja of the Rajput city-state of Amber established an alliance with Akbar when the Mughal emperor married the Raja's daughter. Akbar's tolerant policy toward Hindus encouraged many of the other Rajput states to acknowledge his authority as emperor. Akbar's administrative reforms improved conditions for Hindu villagers. A desire for unity and religious toleration inspired Akbar to build the city of Fatehpur Sikri in 1570. Here he called together Muslim, Hindu, Jain, Zoroastrian, and Roman Catholic scholars. From their teachings and debates, he tried to combine the best of their beliefs into a new religion. The city contained homes for Akbar's several wives, who represented India's varied religions, including Christianity. Although the city was built as a tribute to all faiths, Fatehpur Sikri's most important religious structure was a mosque surrounding a shrine built in honor of the Muslim Sufi saint who foretold the birth of Akbar's son and heir. Akbar hoped that his proposed divine faith would provide a unifying religion for India. But the new religion failed to attract converts, and Fatehpur Sikri was abandoned after 14 years, possibly due to a failure in the water supply. Akbar died in 1605 and was buried in a tomb near Agra. Each of the 4 gates to the tomb is marked by the symbols of a different religious faith. Akbar's son, Jahangir, continued his father's policy of religious toleration and patronage of art and architecture. From a palace inside the Agra fort, Jahangir's Persian wife, Nur Jahan, carried out most of the duties of empire. The emperor was happiest in the cool heights of Kashmir and spent little time in Agra. In 1627, Jahangir was succeeded by his son, Shah Jahan, who was to build the Taj Mahal. Ruling from Agra, Shah Jahan ordered the construction of beautiful palaces and the magnificent Pearl Mosque within the fortress walls raised by his grandfather Akbar. Shady gardens provided relief from the sweltering heat of the dry season. Palace balconies overlooked the Yamuna River to catch the breeze. In Shah Jahan's day, cooling water splashed in this carved marble fountain pool. Everywhere, the Mughal love for lavish decoration and Shah Jahan's personal passion for flowers are evident. Embellishment of the Agra fort was only a prelude to Shah Jahan's plan for a new capital city at Delhi. The monumental structures of Shah Jahanabad, the seventh city of Delhi, were begun in 1638. Elephants could parade through the gates of the Lal Kila, or Red Fort, a massive sandstone structure that was built along the shore of the Yamuna River in what is now called the city of Old Delhi. At the height of Mughal power in the 17th century, processions entered the citadel with great pomp and ceremony. In the days of Shah Jahan, all but the emperor and the princes had to proceed on foot beyond the Naubat Khana gateway. The great Mughal held court in the Diwan-i-Am, or Hall of Public Audiences. Beautiful open palaces were built on a rise overlooking the Yamuna River toward the east of the fortress grounds. These included the pavilions containing the emperor's private apartments and other more enclosed structures once occupied by his wives and other ladies of the court. In keeping with upper-class Islamic traditions of the day, royal ladies were confined to their own quarters. Such women lived in luxurious isolation from the outside world, although a few exercised considerable influence through a husband or son. In the 17th century, when the Lal Kila palaces were new, they were extremely beautiful. Once these airy marble pavilions were decorated with fine fabrics and adornments of gold and silver. Even today, the details of the ravaged interiors are lovely. A Persian verse written in gold above an arch of Shah Jahan's pavilion reads, "If there be a paradise on earth, it is this, it is this, it is this." When he ordered the construction of the Jama Masjid, or Friday Mosque, at Shahanabad, Shah Jahan's thoughts may have turned toward a more heavenly paradise. Completed in 1658, Delhi's Jama Masjid is the largest mosque in India. Unfortunately, growing enthusiasm for a purified Islamic faith on the part of 17th century Mughal emperors led to increased exploitation of their Hindu subjects. Of all the many buildings ordered by Shah Jahan, the most famous is the lovely Taj Mahal in Agra. Plans for this beautiful tomb were initiated in 1630, shortly after the death of Shah Jahan's second wife, Arjuman Banu, generally known as Mumtaz Mahal. She was married to Shah Jahan in about 1612, when he was still a prince. Their love grew through the years of their marriage, and she bore him 14 children. When she died in childbirth only 3 years after Shah Jahan became emperor, he was stricken with grief. Legend tells us that as Taj Mahal lay dying, she asked her husband for a beautiful tomb so that all would understand the power of love. More than 20,000 men worked on this magnificent monument to love, including some of the finest builders and craftsmen from Persia, Turkey, France, and Italy. The Taj Mahal was completed in 1653, more than 20 years after it was begun. Only a few years later, the aging Shah Jahan was imprisoned in Agra fort by his son Aurangzeb, who seized power and then killed several of his brothers and other male relatives. From his marble palace prison, the old emperor looked out toward the mausoleum of his long-dead wife. So ended one of India's great love stories. While Aurangzeb expanded his father's empire, he eroded its foundations by discriminating against Hindus through excessive taxation. As the future of the Mughal Empire was being decided, Shah Jahan died in his marble prison in 1666 and was buried in the Taj Mahal beside his beloved wife.